Hello, my loves. So we're just going to finish off tonight with one last reading from Poor Things by Alisdair Gray. Alright, so we left off right about here. I agree, said I, that medicine is as much an art as a science, but surely we come to the art in our 4th year when we enter the hospitals. Nonsense, said Baxter abruptly. The public hospitals are places where doctors learn how to get money off the rich by practicing on the poor. That is why the poor people dread and hate them, and why those with a good income are operated upon privately or in their own homes. Sir Colin had nothing to do with the hospitals. He operated in our town house in winter, our country house in summer. I often assisted him. He was a true artist. He boiled his instruments and sterilized his theater when hospital boards were ignoring aseptic medicine or denouncing it as a fraud. No surgeons in the public eye dared admit that their filthy scalpels and blood-caked frock coats had killed scores of patients a year, so went on using them. They drove poor Semmelweis mad. He committed suicide through trying to broadcast the truth. Sir Colin was more discreet than Semmelweis. He kept unorthodox discoveries to himself. Please remember, I told him, that our hospitals have been improved since then. They have, indeed, thanks to good nursing. Our nurses are now the truest practitioners of the healing art. In every Scottish, Welsh, and English doctor and surgeon dropped suddenly dead, 80% of those admitted to our hospitals would recover if the nursing continued. I remember that Baxter was barred from hospital practice. Outside the poorest sort of charity clinic, which explained his bitterness toward the profession. However, before parting, we arranged to go on a walk the following Sunday. Our Sunday walks became a habit, though we still ignored each other in the dissecting room and avoided strolls through busy places. We both shrank from being stared at by others, and any companion of Baxter also became an object of curiosity. We were often quite together, as I could not help wincing sometimes at the sound of his voice. When this happened, he would smile and fall silent. Half an hour might pass before I could prod him into saying more, but I always did prod him. His voice was repulsive, but his words highly interesting. One day I put plugs of cotton wool in my ears before meeting him, and found this let me listen with hardly any pain at all. I heard of his queer education on an autumn afternoon when we nearly lost our way in a network of small paths through the woods between Campsie and Torrance. I had introduced the topic by speaking of my own childhood, said he with a sigh. I entered the world through Sir Colin's dealings with a nurse, many years before Miss Nightingale made nursing the good part of British medicine. At that time, a conscientious surgeon had to train his own nursing staff. Sir Colin trained one to be his anesthetist and worked so closely with her that they managed to produce me before she died. I have no memory of her. There is nothing she owned in our houses. Sir Colin never spoke of her except once in my teens, when he said she was the cleverest, most teachable woman he knew. That must have attracted him, for he had no interest in female beauty. He had very little interest in people, except as surgical cases, as I was educated at home and saw no other families, and never played with other children. I was 12 before I learned exactly what mothers do. I knew the difference between doctors and nurses, and thought mothers an inferior kind of nurse who specialized in small people. I thought I had never needed one because I was big from the start. But surely you read the begat chapter in Genesis? No, Sir Colin taught me himself, you see, and only taught what interested him. He was a severe rationalist. Poetry, fiction, history, philosophy, and the Bible struck him as nonsense. Unprovable blethers, he called them. What did he teach you? Mathematics, anatomy, and chemistry. Each morning and evening, he recorded my temperature and pulse, took samples of my blood and urine, then analyzed them. By the age of 6, I was doing these things for myself. Because of a chemical imbalance, my system needs alternating doses of iodine and sugar. I have to monitor their effect with great exactness. But did you never ask him where you originally came from? Yes, and he answered by bringing out diagrams, models, morbid specimens, and giving me another lesson on how I was made. I enjoyed these lessons. They taught me to admire my own internal organization. This preserved my self-respect when I learned how most people feel about my appearance. A sad childhood, worse than mine. I disagree. Nobody was cruel to me, and I got all the animal warmth and affection I needed from Sir Colin's dogs. He always had several of them. I discovered procreation by watching cocks and hens. Did your father's dogs never pop? They were dogs, not bitches. Sir Colin waited till my early teens before teaching me exactly how and why the female body differs from the male. As usual, he taught me through diagrams, models, and morbid specimens. As usual, he taught me through diagrams, models, and morbid specimens, but said he would arrange a practical experiment with a healthy living specimen if curiosity inclined me that way. It did not. Forgive me asking, but your father's dogs, was he a vivisectionist? Yes, said Baxter, and his cheek paled a little. I said, are you? And we'll leave off right before we start chapter 3 for tonight's video. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that this brought you a lot of rest and relaxation. I love you so much.